the difference between like a mother and a smother. I'm also being empathetic to the man he'll become by letting him have this challenge now. I'm going to face my fear about his potential injury and let him keep going, knowing that it might go badly. One of the great things about men's group is we have a place to just dump out all that extra emotion. There was a lot of difficulty finding women who wanted to be a mother. There's a lot of women who wanted to hoorah, career girl. The big part there is sort of like, we're a team to help each other get through this chaotic phase. Like, honey, I really appreciate it if you could do this for me. And I don't even really need to even talk to her about the negative that positive replaces.
Brady, Kirk, thank you so much for joining me for a discussion about fatherhood. So, did you always know that you wanted to be a father?
As a little kid, just kind of growing up, they sort of took it for granted. They're like, oh yeah, that's just what people do. It's just part of the normal life plan. Like getting older into my teenage years, I have a sister who's much younger, 11 years younger. So I started to realize like, oh, okay, this is the actual demand level of a child or a toddler. It's a lot. And as I got into my young adulthood, I realized like, okay, I know how much work this is because of my sister. And that was just when I was responsible for like day to day, keeping them alive and fed and relatively behaved. I wasn't even financially responsible yet. So it's like, okay, yeah, if I'm away working, there's a lot. I need a woman who is going to really be there as a partner. And a lot of my dating, there was a lot of difficulty finding women who wanted to be a mother. There's a lot of women who wanted to hoorah, career girl. Good for you. Great. But I'm not finding women with whom I could have a child. So I sort of took it for granted that like, okay, well, if I don't find her, then it's just a moot point. So I kind of reconciled myself to the fact that without the partner, I really don't want to be a father with someone who I'm not able to partner with and be there with for the kid long term. Because my parents divorced and my dad passed away. So I understand how painful and disruptive divorce, much less so than actual parent death. Parent death is just huge. But that's the kind of thing where I wanted to go into fatherhood with a lifelong committed partner because of the impact it would have on the child.
So did you have a little bit of a almost mini experience of parenthood as a like 11-year-old or a teenage boy with your sister being so much younger?
Yeah, when I was 11, she was born. And first couple of years, it was pretty much all on mom, except for like bottle feeding, a few diapers here and there, just no big deal. But when she got to be like 3, 4, 5, and I started to really understand the energy and the constant presence of a child, they're just right there and they want attention and they need it to develop. So they really insist on it. And I love her, so I want to give it to her, but I can't always give it to her because like I gotta do my homework or I'm going here to do this thing. I have to come back. Say, I want to come with you. And just these insane little kid arguments that that parents will chuckle like they'll chuckle. But if you haven't dealt with a young child for a long term, it's there's a whole series of challenges that are unexpected. And it's like they know to do the least convenient thing at the least opportune time. They're anti-efficiency because they're made that way. They're tiny little impulse monsters. And we have to socialize them and be patient with them while their brains grow enough to understand what we're trying to talk about. And that's a big part of it is like, it's not a personal attack. It's not them trying to irritate me. It's just them doing the best they can in a world they don't understand yet. And for who of us is that not true?
Adults are so much on the clock. Like we schedule our day, we understand how time works. I find a big difference with my kid and kids in general is that they are not ruled by time or the clock. They don't really care if they get somewhere on time, if they're having fun. They're like, let's stay in the moment.
Yeah. They're super in the moment.
Yeah. And I find a lot of the kind of the conflict between kids and adults is around that. The adult is like, well, we got to be at the next thing at 2 o'clock. So, like, we got to leave now. And the kid's like, I want to keep playing Legos for longer.
Hmm.
And yeah,
There's like a tangent there too, because like part of why that time fight happens is because parents think, oh, we should be there at this time. Those fights about should versus could. Kids are in the world of could. We could do this. We could do that. We could do that. I want to do this of all the things we can do. Parents have a should that's pointing them to a specific place at a specific time. And one of the, I don't want to say fights because fight's way too strong a word for it. But one of the learning lessons with my wife and I was because I had a younger sister, I understood how kids just play outside and they just kind of wander sometimes. So when my son was really young, like 2.5, just starting to walk on his own, my wife really wants him to get outside for a good chunk of the day, which, yeah, great. I agree. But she would want to go on the walk that she had in mind, at the pace she had in mind, the route she had in mind. And I had to start to talk to her like, honey, you want him outside, like, take him outside. But if you let the rules be more relaxed, you can relax and he can just explore his environment. With him, I would let him be pretty much in charge of what we do, aside from anything safety related. So if we make it out the front steps and we stare at a bee on a flower in the front yard for 45 minutes, sure, whatever. It's the day he's staring at a bee. And sometimes we go on a march and we march further than I thought we'd make it. And I have to carry him back for the last 15 minutes because his little legs are tired. So
kids are
it's,
so good at smelling the roses, metaphorically, like stopping and admiring a flower or a bee. And like a bee is a incredible creature if you can really stop and look at it. And I continually remind myself that my son is my greatest teacher. And often in moments where there's some annoyance, I'm like, well, we've been looking at this bee for like 20 minutes now. Like, can we keep going? It's like that's an opportunity for me to understand that there's a teaching lesson here of like, slow down. Like, we can really sink into this experience more.
I love that you had the same kind of situation. For me, those moments of getting bored of staring at the bee, one of the times we were doing that kind of stop and smell the roses thing, I realized I don't have to watch what he's watching. I can just watch him. And because I love him so much, I can just watch him watching the flower or watch him playing with the sand. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I can do this. I can play this game.
You had said there when you were dating, you were looking for a partner that wanted to have a kids, and you had some time to find that. Did you did you find her in the church? I'm curious because I know you are part of a Christian church.
No, I didn't find her in the church. And to be honest, I gave up looking for a long term partner wife. So my dating strategy was short term, low commitment, because that seemed to be what was available. And doing that, I I bumped into my wife and I tried doing what I was used to, and her reactions were hilarious. And I started to realize, oh, okay, yeah, she's from we met through a friend of mine and a friend of hers. So it's like a double friend of a friend. My friend was working for the city or working construction, and he was on his lunch break at a Japanese restaurant, hit it off with the waitress, and invites her out to an art show and tells her to bring a friend. And then he invites me out to the same art show. But he cancels and the waitress cancels, leaving my wife and I arriving at this place with no intermediary.
Was this a setup? Was the friend trying to set you two up?
No, not at all. And at this point, she'd been in Canada for about a month on a working holiday visa. And I just got her from the train station and went to the place, and she didn't even have ID on her because she didn't understand that this was a place that was going to serve alcohol. So we had to have ID to get in. So I'm bribing bouncers, and she's looking up photos of her passport to be able to prove she's of age. And just the irony there is like at the time I was like in my early 20s, mid 20s, and she was older than me. So like here I am, like she's solidly like she's in her early 30s. Like this is just funny. Only in Vancouver.
Mm.
And yeah, we hit it off, and dating her was like so refreshing because it was like the old school rules apply, where the dating pattern that we see in movies from, I guess, 40 years ago now, 50 years ago now, it was just suddenly back online. And after going through high school and realizing, oh, okay, these rules don't work anymore. Someone rewrote the rule book and isn't telling anybody what the rules are. So it's just kind of a free for all. So I got to be like a mercenary a bit about it and just kind of make sure I don't get screwed over. But then dating her, it was like, oh, okay, like the old school rule book works. Great. This makes sense. I know how to do this. Let's do this. And I thought she was faking because there were so few red flags. Like there weren't any red flags dating her. I thought this was like a setup or a prank or like some kind of long con or something. Just like not like a romance scam, but just like a woman being crafty kind of a thing, like wanting to craft her persona carefully. But after a year and a half, it was just like, no, no, I think this is really just her. It's just a giant pile of green flags, which I never really expected to find.
Amazing. Well, I'm happy for you. And, you got a beautiful son now. Like, did having the kid change the dynamic of your marriage a lot?
Yes. I noticed that all those details women pay attention to, like their hair and their clothing and their fussiness with things looking nice and being proper in the home, all of that got thrown onto the baby. So baby became the primary recipient of her attention to detail, which watching it was just a magnificent display of skill and ability. Just all the layers of detail and attention that she paid to him. It was just like, wow, this is amazing. And then just seeing her frustrated with the fact that like the house it wasn't as clean as she wanted it to be. And she was noticing, and her own self-care dipped to the point where I had to intervene and just like, no, honey, this needs to adjust. Dishes can wait. You go shower. Like parents of a newborn, it's sort of like all three of us become newborns, and we have to watch out for like, has everybody eaten? Has everybody bathed? Has everybody gone to the bathroom? Like because the lack of sleep causes so much forgetfulness that it's easy to not understand why I'm upset. It's like I'm upset and you're nearby, therefore it's you. No, no, maybe I just got to go number two. I didn't go number two yesterday. Yeah, yeah, it's number two. That's what's wrong. Or wait, am I hungry? Or do I need a shower? Or do I need a nap? Oh, I need a shower and a nap. Okay, I'm gonna go do those things. You just woke up. You take care of them. I'll go do that. I'll come back, relieve you. So it's a lot of like a team effort to keep the family going. And the big part there is sort of like we're a team to help each other get through this chaotic phase. And everything he does is right, be it screaming, crying, sleeping, playing, because he's a baby. He's just going to do the baby things. We're the adults, we do the adult things. And it's us together to help him grow in the world. And it's not you versus me, who's done more diapers, who's stayed up longer, who's missed more meals. If we start making it a score like that, it's us versus each other. But if it's sort of like whatever the team most needs, that's where the team's energy goes. And whoever's got the energy puts it in.
So I'm hearing that before you had a kid, kind of the attention of you and your partner was more wide and open to the world. You're going out, you're doing your hair and your outfit. And then when the baby came, the attention kind of focused back onto what are the core needs of sleep and food and bodily functions. Um,
Oh, yeah.
I know in some families I've worked with, there's been some tension when the relationship, when it was just like a man and a woman and no kids, a lot of the attention is focused on each other. And even when you're exploring the world, the two partners are, they're there, they're looking at each other, deep in each other's eyes and having a good time. And then when that kid comes, especially when the first kid comes, the dynamic can totally change where Now, instead of being focused on each other, there's this third being, and especially the mom can have almost her 100% focus on the baby. And then the man can sometimes feel a little bit left out, where all this attention from the relationship that he used to be receiving is now, it's not there as much. Yeah. How would you deal with that?
Well, we fell into that, and we were both so tired it didn't really feel like a problem because any spare moment was sleep. And as the baby's development changes, their needs change. And as they hit those points where they start to need less direct supervision, like they're able to sit and play with their toys for 10, 20 minutes and be entertained, or watch an episode of Paw Patrol or whatever their show of choice is. That's time for the parents to get stuff done, but also add back into the rotation time together. Just time to chill, time to like gaze lovingly into each other's eyes, or clearing my throat.
Do you guys consciously schedule date nights or nights to have time just the two of you?
Right now, babysitters are hard to find. I've got sisters in town, but our schedules don't line up in any convenient kind of way. So date night itself is difficult. What it tends to be more of is after bedtime, he's down, and then we have time to ourselves to cuddle up, to tease each other, harass each other, just sort of play the way that we did when we were single and without a kid. They're not single, but when we were like a couple without a kid.
Cool. Now, I know that you work with a whole variety of men. You lead a number of different men's
Oh,
groups.
one more thing to add with the dynamic is talking to each other. It's one thing to go without needs met. It's like, honey, I need more cuddle time with you, or honey, I need more face to face talk time with you. Holding that in and not talking to your partner about it builds resentment quickly, especially when there's lack of sleep. So at least having the conversations with your partner of like, I know it's not realistic right now, but I really miss cuddling up with you. I really miss our TV time. I really miss our talk time, whatever it is that we did together. I really miss it. Being able to stay in communication that like, hey, that thing we used to do, as soon as we can find a way to fit it back in, maybe not as long as we used to, but let's prioritize bringing some of that back instead of having the house 10% cleaner. Because it's one of those things where it's easy to just keep doing more of the things we're already doing and forget that there's something that's completely fallen off our radar that should come back on as a higher priority than 10% more cleaning getting done.
Okay, so here's something I'm curious about. We both run men's groups, and I know one of the things that comes up in the men's group is that there's certain things you want to be talking about with your romantic partner. And then there's certain things that are better served bringing to your men friends and talking about with them and not burdening your romantic partner with everything that's going on in yourself. So I'm curious, like, where you see that balance being when there's challenging times, you have a baby, there's a lot going on in the family. How much of your feelings and emotions do you bring to your partner, and how much do you bring to the men?
That is an excellent question. And the answer is I bring as much as I can to the men, as often as I can to the men. And through talking with them, it becomes clear if it's something I should talk to her about or not.
Yeah. And oh man, that's one of the biggest benefits of being in a men's group is like being able to take this stuff and kind of dump it out, get it out, and then have some other men who are not in the thick of the same things be able to offer a calmer reflection and understanding, and then being able to take like the nugget and bring that to your partner and do it
Hmm.
in a way where it's like, okay, I've kind of crafted this a little bit more. It's not so raw, it's not so needy, and it can
Hmm.
land better.
Yeah, especially bringing up dissatisfactions, being able to talk to them, feel through whatever I've been feeling, clear out anything that might be coming from an earlier stage in my life, like an unmet need that's been unmet for 30 years. It's not even her fault this has gone unmet. Maybe it's something that I've never learned how to ask for. If I let all the weight of the emotion that's been building up for 30 years, if I let that out on her, it's not fair and it's completely out of balance. And one of the great things about men's group is we have a place to just dump out all that extra emotion, figure out how much is actually from the current situation, and then bring that to the situation and be more emotionally regulated, emotionally calibrated, and let the person see like, yeah, like I really want this. And also learning how to ask from the positive instead of rejecting from the negative. Like, I don't want you to do this anymore. Stop doing this is much less productive than me talking to the guys, figuring out what I actually do want. Like, honey, I really appreciate it if you could do this for me. And I don't even really need to even talk to her about the negative that positive replaces. I can just help her get into a more positive habit, a more positive cycle. It gets me out of the resentment. It gets me out of the hurt. It gets her into the like, oh, honey, you would be this angel in my life and I would love you so much. And what can I do for you that would make this kind of a shift for you? Like, how do I be your hero, your champion, your muscle bound rescuer? Oh, you take out the garbage and grease the bearings on the door or grease the hinges on the door so they stop squeaking. That's it. That's what you want. Yeah, I would just feel really taken care of if you could fix that because I don't know how, and I know you know how, and I know you haven't done it because we're really busy. And sometimes it's those little things where, for me, I'm just like I just want to cuddle up and just like spend touch time together because touch is one of my love languages. And with the baby around, it's easy to forget that. But with the baby around, it's easy to just be focused on direct stuff. And the little household maintenance just didn't seem so important because it wasn't. But because it was something specifically important to her, I knew to make it important and do those back and forths that make a relationship and a family work.
Now, I've heard that one of the roles of the father is to provide their kids with an appropriate access to danger, to like get them out in the world, kind of ride that edge of going out in the woods. We're playing with sticks. You might fall down, climb some trees. You're not going to die. And then the mother's role, and we're generalizing here. So different relationships, it could be totally reversed. And maybe it's better to talk about the male polarity and the feminine polarity. But yeah, the feminine polarity being more about safety and nurturing, um, and being able to like welcome them back from the danger and being like, you're totally safe here. And I feel like in our modern society, we've kind of moved a little bit too far away from danger, trying to like sanitize playgrounds and like prevent kids from getting hurt at all cost. And it's kind of like a lot of helicopter parenting, I think, comes out of that fear um, of kids getting hurt. But then I see the after effects is that kids are experiencing more anxiety. They're a little bit more scared to like go outward into the world and experience things. Now, every kid's different. Um, but I'm curious if you see like different roles for the father and the mother.
In our relationship, specifically, yes, we have a more traditional divide between the masculine and feminine. And what matters is that parents understand part of fun, part of the definition of fun is like 1 foot in competence, 1 foot in, um, not incompetence, but 1 foot in
Learning?
learning, 1 foot in risk, 1 foot in a little bit outside my competence zone. So it's like you don't let the kid try base jumping as their first activity, but they can climb a couple rungs up on a ladder and in the playground and jump off like 2 feet off the ground. Sure. Yeah. Try that out. See how that goes for you. And okay, you stumbled, you may hit your knee and it hurt a little bit. Okay. What did you learn? Oh, I'm not ready to jump from that high yet. Okay. So a lot of fun involves risk. And if we remove too much of the risk, the fun disappears. But also they have to have enough competence to be able to competently handle the risk. It's going to be a push. They're going to be a little bit afraid. They're going to be doing something that they want to do, but they also kind of don't want to do. And if the parents play into their hesitation, they're teaching the child to listen to their hesitation more than their urge to try. And that is, I think, a fundamental disservice. Parents ought to be encouraging children to engage with their desire to try and help them learn to manage the fear that comes along with stepping outside that comfort zone. And sometimes we have to override what they want to do. Like, no, you're not running across the street because you don't understand that risk. But climbing a few more rungs up the ladder, yeah, that's within your capability. I know you're physically able to do it. It's the emotional part you're struggling with right now. So go try, see how far you can get. And there was a funny story of one time my wife told my son to get, he was about 3 at the time, like, Bryson, get ready to go outside. And he's getting ready to go outside. And I hadn't put my coat on yet. And my wife starts putting her jacket on because she's going to go shopping for groceries while we go for a walk to the park. But he has this moment of panic where he's like, Mommy, you're not taking me outside. Daddy's taking me outside. He wanted to go specifically with me because I give him more free reign. And I can see that my wife feels pain when he feels pain much more readily than I do. And especially like the anticipatory pain. Like she's feeling pain because he might feel pain. Whereas I'm like, okay, until he actually bleeds, I'm okay. When he's
Mm.
actually hurt, then I feel it. But I don't I don't live in that pre-pain anxiety that she seems to wrestle with, where she's like, I can't watch. Like, oh yeah, she's right. It hurts her to watch. So she's got to look away. But I can just sort of let him. Also, she really likes to keep him clean because she does the laundry. So I do have some sympathy there of like, yeah, yeah, laundry sucks, and he's a little boy. He's gonna play in the puddles because he has to. If you want grandkids, he has to start. It starts with playing in puddles. It starts with touching bugs. It starts with all that stuff like that risk taking behavior, because asking girls out is risky, and he's gonna have to do that. You want grandkids. It's something I remind her of. Like, we're making the man he's going to be today. And he's going to be who he's going to be. And what parents really have the ability to do is get in the way of their kids' development. One of the things Jordan Peterson talks about is like your kids are pretty much going to be who they're going to be, and you can get in the way or not.
Yeah, I try and say yes as much as possible to my son when he's has a desire or a direction that he wants to go in. Try and say yes. And I notice in myself there's often an impulse to say no because kids do the darndest things. They do things that I would never do, never want to do, never think to do. Like, put some Cheerios into my orange juice. I'm not going to do that. And when my son's like, can I put Cheerios into my orange juice? Sometimes I have an impulse to say, no, like, we don't do that. That's not a thing that humans do. But there's no harm in putting Cheerios in orange juice. So the right answer should be yes. If you want to put your Cheerios into your orange juice, go for it. See what happens. Maybe you're going to like it. Maybe you'll learn why people generally don't do that. And, that's a small example, but then it gets bigger. And I think one of the keys to successful parenting is saying yes as much as possible and saving those no's for the really like full danger situations. Like, no, you can't jaywalk across the street. No, you can't play with that knife.
Yeah.
Play with this spoon. How about that? And that's another thing is to anytime there's a no, is to give the yes option. So like that, yeah, no, you can't play with that knife. Do you want to play with this dinosaur toy? Or do you want me to supervise you cutting a cucumber with that knife? Like, you want to use that knife. It's a dangerous tool. Depending on how old you are, there's a certain level of activity that's available. And Mike's son loves chopping. He loves knives. Knives are this magic object that we use pretty much every day. Kids see us using them in the kitchen. They're able to like disassemble things. And so, yeah, I started with my son. I think it was bananas was the first thing that we cut up. I'd peel the banana, and he really wanted to try it out. So I was like, okay. Another parent taught me this fun saying, hand on top, safe to chop. So you
Mm-hmm.
got one hand on the
And the
handle and then the other
other
hand on the
handle.
top of the knife. No chance of cutting your finger. So actually, I want to write a song called Hand on Top, Safe to Chop. Yeah. A couple
One
other thoughts
thing
from what you were saying there. Um,
I was just gonna see if there's any other examples that you have of saying yes when you wanted to say no.
I mean, there's so many. It's like, can I not wear socks? I want to put my shoes on without socks. It's like the first impulse is no, you got to wear socks. That's what we do. That's what humans do. Um, but what's the downside in not wearing socks? Maybe your feet will hurt. Maybe your feet will be cold. Um, Kids don't care.
No.
And so sometimes he doesn't wear socks. And now we're coming into the fall and the winter. It's more important to wear socks. In the summertime, like my kid runs really hot compared to some other human beings. And so sometimes he doesn't wear socks. And I've learned, and it's still a thing that sometimes I'm like, you got to wear socks. And he's like, I don't want to wear socks. And then I was like, at one point, I figured out that all his socks were too small. And it was a real pain in the butt for him to get them
Oh,
on. And they didn't feel good on his feet. So we went and we bought some bigger socks, and those are better. But still, sometimes he's like, I don't want to wear socks. And sometimes I fight him because this impulse to say no comes up. And sometimes I'm just say, yes, okay, don't wear socks.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
my
it's not
son
a
is
wedding
really,
you're going to. It's just out for a walk. So why does this fight need to be fought? Does this need to be a fight?
yeah. And then underwear is one where I hold the line and I say, you need to wear underwear. Um, and the reasons are to keep your privates protected and so that your smelly butt isn't exposed as much to the air that I'm breathing.
That's a good one. Where it's like socks, your choice. Underwear, non-negotiable. It's part of the people stuff.
Yeah.
And there was another one where we were done a walk, and it was like one of those wet days where the ground is wet, but the sidewalks are dry. And he really wanted to go run in a field. And I knew that he would get his shoes and feet all sloppy. He was in Crocs with socks. He'd get all sloppy. He'd probably slip and fall. I was thinking, like, well, he's going to have that experience at some point in his life. We're on the way home. Mom will be a little upset, but he'll learn his lesson his way. Say, okay, you know what? You can go run in that field, but you're probably going to slip and you're probably going to get really wet when you fall down, and you're going to be really uncomfortable for the rest of the walk home. And what happened is exactly what I said would happen. His feet got all wet. He slipped and fell down, and he was all wet, and he wanted me to carry him. Like I told you, I told him ahead of time too, and I'm not going to carry you when you get all wet and want me to carry you because you'll be wet. I'll get wet too. And then we walked all the way home, which is like 7 minutes. But for like a 3-year-old,
An
that's
eternity for a
mild.
3-year-old.
The slow, mopey, I'm cold and not happy walk. It took way longer than it needed to, but it was one of those lessons of like, trust daddy. I will tell you, I'll give you warnings. I'll let you do, but also the consequences will be consistent. And that's one of the other things of parenting that I think we should get into is promises. I, I treat promises to my son the way I would treat promises to God. And I don't even mean that in any kind of crazy way. It's like, I only make a promise I fully intend and think I'm capable of keeping because I need him to trust me at some unforeseen point in time in the world where he'll have to go on daddy's word. If I'm constantly breaking my promises to him now just to get quick compliance, when I really need him to listen to me and trust me on something he doesn't understand, he won't. So if I tell him, okay, well, we're gonna go home. If you stop fighting and come back now, you get gummies. You get gummies, vitamin gummies, but that kind of thing. Or one of the interesting ones is he was really fascinated with the toilet for a while, specifically the tank on the back and all the stuff inside. And what I told him was, Bryson, you don't come in here and do this on your own. But anytime you're curious about the toilet and want to see inside, come get me and I will come look at it with you. Okay. Because the heavy ceramic lid, I don't want him to try taking that off and fall on himself or fall and it breaks, that kind of thing. So the catch there is that I have to now, when he's curious, go help him examine the toilet and learn about it and play with it a little bit. But the benefit is that he trusts my word. And the same thing for my workshop where I have a bunch of tools and 3D printing stuff. And there's chemicals and resins and alcohol, that kind of thing, like rinsing alcohols. So I said, Bryson, you can come into the workshop only when daddy is here and only when daddy says it's okay, but you can come into the workshop. Like you mentioned before, giving them that path that is a little bit dangerous, but approved if they meet the conditions. That way they learn like, okay, there's risks. This is how we manage it. And I also can trust daddy because he makes promises that he follows through on. And then that trust builds over the years, hopefully. And by the time he's a teenager, like if I spent my whole toddlerhood with him lying about rewards that are promised. Oh, you'll get a chocolate bar tomorrow if you leave the playground peacefully today. Then tomorrow comes and there's no chocolate bar because I don't want to deal with the sugar rush. It's like, well, now he stops leaving the playground peacefully, even if I promise to buy him something or bribe him. And then as a teenager, well, what good is dad's word? He tells me not to lie. I'm going to lie to dad too. That's one of the things I want to be able to say is that I don't lie to you. I tell you the truth. Please don't lie to me. Tell me the
Mm,
truth because I don't know what
mm.
future situation it's going to be where I need to hear the truth from him. And I need him to have built that trust with me to be able to extend that trust back.
Nice. And
Yeah.
that's the number one code of the Arca Brotherhood, right? Be good with your words.
Yeah.
And
Make
it's
your word good.
so important.
The
Me and
harder
my,
of the two is learning what promises will I actually be able to keep. Like, like being more careful with the promises made is the more important part of that.
uh-huh. Yeah. Now, when you say promises, is that every word that you speak, like everything that you say to him counts as a promise? Uh,
No, it's specifically like I promise. I went like with the toilet seat thing. We're not going to play with this now. You don't play with it on your own, but when you want to play with it, I promise I will come and I will help you look at the toilet so you can learn about it and play. So I'll use the promise word. That's when it's a deal. 'Cause I try to pay really close attention when I'm talking to him if I'm making a deal or not.
mm-hmm. Oh, my son is such a good negotiator. We talk about deals, and he'll offer these crazy deals to try and get what he wants. And it's pretty fun. And, so much of life is negotiating with other people. And we try and find the win-win as well.
Mhm.
That's one concept I've enjoyed passing to him. Um, and then talking about honesty and wanting your kids to be able to be fully honest with us. Me and my son have this pretty fun thing where sometimes he'll come to me, and I'm not sure where this came from, if I introduced it to him or he learned it from somewhere, but sometimes he'll come to me and he'll say, Dad, I got something to tell you, but only if you promise to not get mad. And I love this. It's so good because it prepares me. I'm like, okay, something's coming here. And he wants to be honest with me. And I want him to be honest with me. So I will always promise. I'll be like, yes, I promise. I won't get mad. What is it? And then he'll tell me something. And like kids have such strange ideas. So sometimes it'll be a tiny thing that is totally inconsequential. And then sometimes it's like, I broke the lamp. And um, this is a sad thing for the family. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a tiny thing. It's way less important than trust and honesty in the family. So I love that. That's the tip that I think every family should have, that promise of like, you can tell me anything and, let me know, make sure that I know it's coming. That line, like, I promise you won't get mad. I got something to tell you. And I'm curious to use it more in adult um, situations too, if there's really challenging communication, to try and ask for that promise as well. I haven't done that as much. Normally it comes from my son.
Hmm. I have had that same kind of thing too. And the way I prepare him for it is like, okay, Bryson, I promise I won't get mad. I won't yell. But if something's really bad, there might be consequences. There might be trouble. We might need to clean up a mess. We might need to make a deal. You might need to do something about what happened, but I won't get mad at you. I won't yell at you, that kind of thing. Because kids are a fifth of our size, like a tenth of our size. We're terrifying. We're giants that they live with. So it's so easy for us to elevate their emotional level past where they can actually retain anything. It's like if I live with someone who was like 15 feet tall, weighed 2,000 pounds, and could backhand me through a wall, and he raises his voice like, okay, I'm in fight or flight mode. I'm not going to retain anything. So part of the challenge for us is to, especially if they come to us asking for conversation, to be able to be there for it. And sometimes it's little, like, oh, like I took this thing apart and I don't know how to put it together. Like, oh, it just reassembles. No big deal. But one particular incident was my son was playing with this, like those litter pickers. We have like one, but it's for household use only, to just reach things if they fall down between the fridge and the stove, or get things up from up high. They're like things that are light or easy to grab, but just kind of out of reach. And my wife is kind of short, so she needs this. And he was playing with it and he broke it by accident. And he's like, Daddy, I need to show you something, but I don't want you to get mad. I was like, okay, it's one of those. When I saw it, I'm just like, oh, mommy's going to be, and I'm thinking to myself, mommy's going to be really angry. So I went to her and I told her when he wasn't there in the same room, because so she could have her upset moment. I was like, honey, I need you to be calm, because I need to now get him to tell you what he did so he can take accountability for his mistake. That's the lesson here right now. I know there's a greater lesson around don't touch mommy's things and don't break mommy's things. But the lesson here on the table that's more important is the take responsibility for what you've done lesson. So he's going to come tell you, and he's going to say sorry, and he needs to hear you say, I forgive you, even though you're really pissed off with him, because that's not the lesson we're dealing with right now today.
Yeah. And the lesson for a lot of adults, myself included, is to practice regulating ourselves and not giving our full giant emotion onto the kids. What you're saying there. And I see it happened last week where I was, I help out with the after school program sometimes. And this one kid was being mean to another kid. And I was dealing with the supplies, but kind of saw it happening. And then I went over and I was quite stern with this kid. I was like, that was really mean. You can't do that. And it was too much for this kid. And he ended up crying about it. And then we had to make a deal to, um, he was like, if you tell my mom, I won't get TV time. And he was in tears. And I was like, okay, if you're nice and you don't do that again, I promise I won't tell your mom. Like, it wasn't anything that needed to be told. But just the lesson for me is that what I think of as being stern can be experienced as being really scary by smaller beings, by the kids. And again, there's sometimes when that is called for, if it's like a really dangerous situation, something that like absolutely must be stopped. There's some utility in bringing that full emotion to teach that lesson. But when it's a medium thing, and I say it to help myself uh, integrate that taking a moment, taking a breath, thinking like, how important is this in the grand scheme of things? And then coming at it with the appropriate level of intensity.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about being in men's group is we try to meet each other face to face. And as much as I can, like obviously in an emergency, I'm not going to be able to do this. But with my son, as much as I can, I either try to come down to his level, like take a knee, so we're face to face, the same, roughly the same height level, or I pick him up and stand him on a table. So that way we're talking face to face. And it's not because like we're equals or anything. It's because that me towering over him isn't helpful in the situation. That's like an authority compliance thing versus there's something here I want him to understand and receive. I want it to land. And maybe it won't land this conversation. Maybe we'll have to have the same conversation several times before he starts to get it. But he'll get it sooner if I'm not activating his fight or flight system by just towering over him and being angry.
Yeah, I love that. Such a great tip to just come down and meet them eye to eye and have that moment on their level.
Yeah. And that's like stage one is like take a knee, get down to his level. If he's still not listening or still engaged in whatever he's not supposed to do, that's when I pick him up and put him on the table. And this is kind of like something that God does with me, where he does it with everybody. God wants us to center him in our lives. And if we get too preoccupied with something other than him, what he starts to do is take things away until we remember that everything comes from him in the first place. And the parenting equivalent is, okay, you're playing with your toys. I told you to stop. I told you nicely. Now I'm going to pick you up and put you on the kitchen table. Now we're talking about why you didn't listen to daddy when I know you heard me. So it's sort of like I had a conversation with my son, and at the same time as I was talking to him that kind of way, I felt from God, like, did you just hear yourself say that? And it was kind of like, that's what I'm doing to you right now. Like, are you going to take your own words that you're giving to your son? It's like, you're my son. Listen, like, okay. Yeah, I heard it. I hear myself. Note
Mm.
taken.
I'm curious about the how in the Christian church they use the word father for God, God the Father, and they also use it for like the priest in the church.
Hmm.
Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. And then we use it in the family for the father.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I didn't grow up religious, so I haven't had a ton of experience with that. But it's interesting to me how that kind of solidified the father's role as the authority figure for many generations. And do you find that coming into play a lot in your world?
Yes, like God the Father, Jesus is the Son. And it's almost like the love between them is the Holy Spirit, but it's also so powerful. It's its own part of God. And the Trinity in Christianity isn't really meant to be understood by us at this level. And part of what a lot of Christians believe is that we'll be spending eternity getting to know deeper and deeper what God is, who God is, and how the three parts of God are all God at the same time, but also separate. So there's God the Father, God the Son, and the love between them. And then from there, they made everything. The priests being called father, that's more of a Catholic thing. So that's not quite my branch of Christianity. I'm not too well versed in where that comes from or why, but there is the becoming a father myself. I think this is something that the church could really lean on more is in terms of appealing to men, underscoring God the Father and how he is our Father as well. And we relate to him, father to children. And the same way that my kids have to trust me, I have to trust him. He knows the game plan way better than I do. Like I know the game plan better than my son does. I know we have to prioritize vehicle maintenance right now, not playing Legos, because this is the time daddy has before our big trip. So if I don't do this before the big trip, the vehicle's not ready for the trip and we can't go on the trip. So it's that kind of a thing where I I get to trust something much greater than myself, and there's a piece that comes with that that I then can carry into my family, where it's like, honey, I lost my job. Your parents are sick. I don't know how we're going to figure this out, but I know we're not alone. Something will come through. I'll be operating in the world in a way where I believe there is a way through this, and I will find it. That's a fundamentally different way than operating from a point of view of I'm completely on my own and this is practically hopeless. Because I'm sure you've seen in group where guys will create for themselves their own prediction and then bring it into existence.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like, having done the men's group for so long now, I've seen what a wide variety of experiences men have had with their fathers
Mm,
growing up and how
yeah.
influential it is in their lives. And some men have great relationships with their fathers. A lot of men have great relationships while also having challenges with their fathers. And then some men have had horrible relationships with abusive fathers or um, all kinds of different things, or absent fathers or fathers that have passed away too early. And when you talk about, you know, God the Father being an additional father, I can see some men would be like, hell no, like I did not like my dad. I don't want another father. Um, or maybe some men are like, I had a horrible dad. I need a better role model up there. And then such the spectrum. Some men maybe are like, I had a great dad. I don't need another godfather. Um, and some men, like, I had a great father and I can have this other heavenly father as another good influence in my life.
You're bang on correct. It cuts all those different ways. Some guys will never come to faith. Some guys will bounce in and out. Some guys are in and they just stay in. And some guys are out, then they're in, then they're out. And it's a journey that I don't get to understand from the level God would. That he knows what the part of the whole thing is like God knows the plan completely and everything is accounted for. All things that happen are turned toward good by him. We don't necessarily see or understand what that good is. Like there may be a situation where someone is being horribly set upon. And the reason they're there is because if they weren't there, someone else would have been set upon and that person wouldn't have survived it. Like there's those kinds of possibilities of like why was my life so tough? Like, well, because you were the one who could get through it. The other person who would have been there if not for you, they wouldn't have survived it. Part of it is like, well, you don't know this yet, but in 20 years, you're going to meet someone who reminds you exactly of you right now. And you're going to know exactly how to help them because you're going through it right now. And so much of this comes down to this understanding that we're not meant to go through things alone. We're meant to go through things together as a family, as a church, as a Christian community, as people on earth trying to get through life. And the more we have people that we can open up to and talk to, if you don't have those people, work to find them. Work it like it's a job because it's that community is important for people, for human beings. If you don't have a men's group, if you don't have a church, consider going somewhere where there's already structure and looking for people that you can actually open up to, connect with, and trust. And especially if you've been out of connection with people, you're going to have to brush up just on your basic interaction skills. There's there's about like maybe 15-20% of guys that come to men's group and their social skills are really rough. It takes them a while to really open up because it takes a while for them to get the communication level up to the point where we can start to have them open up and speak well, be heard, tell a story effectively. And it's a real challenge. It's part of why I believe in what we're doing because of how many people it's helping and how drastically it's helping men.
Oh yeah, I've seen men's group be such a helpful influence in so many men's lives now. Do you want to give a little bit of info about the men's group that you are offering these days?
Yes, I'm offering a group called Brotherhood Boundary. There's a Sunday group currently, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm looking to help more men and open up more time slots as the demand increases.
Is
That's
that in
the
person or online?
that is online. Yeah, Brotherhood Boundary is going to be likely mostly online. As membership increases, the the model is start groups where there's enough guys to start groups in person. Where there aren't, have guys meet online so that they can at least get some of the support. And I shouldn't even say some of the support because leading online groups for 5 years now, I'm as close to the guys in my online groups as I am to my guys in my in-person group. It's like you can do 90% of what we do in person online. And online, there's things that we can't do in person. So you get an extra 10% there. So you get still a full 100% experience. It's that if you are the kind of person who doesn't want an online men's group probably isn't a good fit. But if you're wanting connection, if you're wanting to have a place to vent, if you're wanting people to listen, if you're wanting to listen to people and actually have like a two-way street, honest, real, raw conversation, the online factor is a non-factor and as being a barrier. It's totally possible. I've seen it happen so many times.
Mm. So I run an in-person men's group here in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Mhm.
And during the pandemic, we went online using Zoom, and now we're back in person. And I noticed that there's a big difference. And you had mentioned that there's like a 10% that you can do online that you can't do in person. I'm curious to know what that 10% is.
Yes. I just want to mention my in-person men's group also went online. And I think what's different there is the guys who come in knowing it's going to be an online group and they sign up for an online group, they're getting an online group. But when the guys are wanting the in person and now it's been taken online, there's a much different energy there. There's more of a struggle because the guys haven't been selected for what they're in. So that is a barrier. When the guys are opting into online, knowing it's online, it's a very different energy in the room because everyone's there by choice. When it comes to what can be done differently is there's uh it's hard to say it without spoiling it because these are specifically processes where the fact that we're online changes what I can do because I can mute people, I can stop their video, I can I can I can engage in theatrics that heighten the experience in ways that I can't do in person. So without giving away the secrets, I can hint at the toolbox I have access to. And also there's like the breakout rooms are great. This one I can talk about. The breakout rooms are great because when we're in person and we pair off, we can still all hear each other. But in a breakout room, it's just you and the other guy, and the whole world is falling away. And you guys are sharing on whatever topic you've been challenged to share on, or you're doing whatever prompt or whatever kind of exercise you've been set up with. And it's just direct one-on-one time and there's no distractions. It's just you and him. So being drawn on by someone else that intimately and drawing on someone else that intimately, it's really cool. And I think it's more heightened in the breakout rooms than just in the one-on-ones in person. Although the hug afterwards that usually happens in person is pretty great. There's no way to online hug. That's like the one major detractor.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
See how technology evolves over the coming years.
Dude, give me a vug. What's a vug? A virtual hug. I'm not putting the suit on.
Mm. Well, I love the work that you're doing out there in the world, Brady. Um, I think there's a lot of men that could use it still. And I think one of the biggest things about the online world is that it's more accessible for the world. And, here in Vancouver, we're blessed with the Arca Brotherhood, great organization that was founded here. But there's so many communities out there in North America and the world that could really benefit from this work. And I applaud you for doing it, bringing it to the men.
Thank you, Dustin. And likewise, you're part of this work too. That's how we met.
A couple things come up from what you were talking about earlier. One is kids getting dirty. And one of the best decisions I made as a parent was when I decided it was okay for my son to get as dirty as he wants. If he's out there in nature and getting into it, um, we were talking earlier about things where the initial impulse is like, no, don't do that. But it should be a yes. So often that comes out with kids getting dirty. And a lot of us, I don't want to get my clothes filthy, dirty, covered in mud. But kids want to have that experience. And I think we should let them have that experience. So when I flipped that switch in my own mind, when I was like, it's okay for my son to get as dirty as he wants, it actually took so much anxiety away from me. It helped me relax and be like, yeah, it's okay. He can get as dirty as he wants. And and normally we're pretty close to home. And normally I have a change of clothes in the car if we're out and about. That is another key tip. Have a change of clothes in the car. Um, and then
Water
it,
bottle, like water washing bottle. That helps. Paper roll of paper towel. It's
yeah. And then something else you said brought a really interesting thought to my mind. You were talking about um, how mothers have empathy for kids when they're feeling hurt or unsafe. And they have almost a preemptive empathy where that they can see it happening before it happens and feel that feeling. And it made me think, I'm like, is that part of the difference between dads and moms? Is that empathy piece? And I think it's a stereotype, but I'll say in general, in my experience, women are better at empathy than men. Men are more in their own world and maybe less feel other people's emotions less. I don't know if that's true in your world as well.
I would add to that if your thoughts complete. Is there any more you wanted to say before I speak?
Well, that's the basis, just that empathy piece coming into play and how it affects the roles of the parents.
Yeah, like there's that visceral empathy of, oh, I see you're climbing high. You might get hurt. I don't want you to get hurt. What's also happening for me is like, yeah, I feel a bit of fear. I feel the awareness, like, yeah, this is a risky situation, but I'm also being empathetic to the man he'll become by letting him have this challenge now. I'm going to face my fear about his potential injury and let him keep going, knowing that it might go badly. Because if I deny him these growth opportunities, I'm not being empathetic to the man he's going to become. The
Yeah.
future, I don't want him at 22, like, Dad, why did you raise me to be a pussy? My life sucks. Why didn't you let me grow into a man? Why did you keep getting in the way? Why didn't you push me? Why didn't you challenge me? Why didn't you do all those things you do for your men in your groups? Why didn't you do that for me?
Yeah, it's playing the long game is a
But
key part in
yeah, like
being a
long
good
game
parent.
empathy. Yeah. And there's this part, I'm going to say it just because it's in my head and I should verify if it's true or not. But there's like, there's the female brain and our wiring is different. Like we have different brains. Like we're the same species. We're so much similar compared to how we're different. But one of the important ways we're different is that men have a system that can suppress emotion. and we don't feel emotion as intensely. And we have a system that can actively suppress emotion and stay in the rational longer, more often. And this is more common in men than in women. And part of this is like, okay, yeah, this is probably from like hunting days of, okay, we're hunting mammoths and there's 10 of us and we're off on a hunting party and you stab the mammoth and it whacks you into a tree. Well, I can't be empathetic right now and go tend to you because there's still a rampaging mammoth in front of the rest of us. We've got to take this thing down and then I can go be empathetic for you. So there's like a two tier empathy system of like, okay, I feel the empathy. Is it time for the empathy? Yes, no. Okay, it's a no situation. We're doing long game empathy. We're doing greater good empathy right now because if we don't deal with this situation, worse could happen.
Yeah.
Like battlefields, warfare, hunting, building stuff. Like, oh no, my friend, the load just fell on him. Like, yeah, but there's still a chance to secure the chain so it doesn't fall anymore, kind of thing. Like, do the thing that's the greatest good. And that's what I feel a lot kick in for my son is like, I want to stop him too. I don't want to watch him do the dangerous thing, but I know I need to because he needs to do these kinds of things.
Mm. It makes me see empathy as a spectrum as well. And one of the ARCA codes is to find the balance between passion and compassion.
Uh-huh.
And I can see how, on one side, having no empathy is a problem. And on the other side, having too much empathy could be a problem,
Absolutely.
where you're not taking care of yourself as much, you're not as aware of what's going on, you're letting other people's emotions have too much control over your own. So there's both sides of that spectrum, and then somewhere in the middle is the appropriate amount of empathy. And it changes on the different situation and the different relationships. But
Mhm. It's like the difference between like a mother and a smother.
oh, I love that. Do you have one for father?
I'll work on
Father,
it.
a father and a bother.
A father and a bother. Yeah, that would be like the over attentive father. That's a good one.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Brady. It was a fun time talking with you, getting more into fatherhood and men's group. I mean, you talk some of your things you mentioned about God. I think we could talk about that for a long time as well. Um, but let's wrap it up here and maybe get together again for another one.
Sounds like a plan. Great to talk to you, Dustin.